Welcome to the Glamping Guy Podcast, Episode 6.
Yeah, it was really good timing. It ended up being a blessing at the end. It didn't seem like it in the beginning. Here we were starting a resort,
Mm-hmm.
but we decided to, keep pushing, and it was a real blessing. It would have not been a better perfect timing for us to open what we did at that time.
Hi, I'm Chris Jube, the Glamping Guy, and today we have an absolutely exciting episode for you. I'm joined with Angele Miller, the visionary owner behind Creekside RnR, a glamping resort in the beautiful province of New Brunswick, Canada. Angele is not only an entrepreneur, but a glamping innovator, and in today's conversation, she's giving an inside look at her resort's one-of-a-kind accommodations. We're talking geodesic domes, mirror buildings that disappear in the forest, tree tents for the adventurous, and even a repurposed lobster boat that guests can stay in. If that's not unique, I don't know what is. But it doesn't stop there. Angele's resort offers a full wellness experience, Nordic spas, yoga, meditation, snowshoeing, and skating, and all sorts of things. Something for every season there in New Brunswick. We'll dive deep into how she crafted these experiences, the challenges she faced, and her vision to franchise this incredible glamping concept. And she has 10 contracts already lined up from Costa Rica to Texas. So sit back and relax. Let's explore the world of Creekside RnR with Angele Miller. Well, hello, Angele. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Welcome to the Glamping Guy Podcast. I'm really happy to have you here. We know each other because we've been on podcasts before. For another podcast is kind of a group. We're kind of group regulars on that podcast, but now we get to spend some time together to really get to know you and your operation that you've got going on there at Creekside.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be on this podcast, and it's nice to connect with you here as well.
Yes. Okay, for my listeners, I should say this is a series called Glamping Masters, meaning I'm really interviewing people who are doing glamping themselves. Lots of great minds in the whole industry of glamping, and the market is just is a $1 billion market, and lots of vendors and things like that I could be interviewing. But I really want to talk to people like you who are doing. You've got your feet on the ground, boots on the ground. You're doing the thing. So tell my listeners who Angele is and your venues and what you got going there.
Yeah, so for myself, I'm located in Eastern Canada, in the province of New Brunswick. I'm a serial entrepreneur myself. I'm also a mom. I have 2 dogs. I have a husband. So I'm very busy entrepreneur. But we have opened Creekside RnR in the midst of COVID. And just in a nutshell, our resort is a full-on glamping resort with geodesic domes. So we have 5 geodesic domes on the property. We also have 2 mirror cabins. We also have like a tree tent experience on site, as well as a luxury big lobster fishing boat accommodation. We also have a Nordic spa and a Zen center for the ones that love to do yoga meditation. And we have many other activities on site. And it's really built on the side of a creek. That's why we call it Creekside RnR. But it's built on the side of a creek that connects to the ocean. And it sits on about 25 acres in like a very nice kind of wooded forest.
Wow. Okay, you have a lot going on. That's a lot of stuff. Let's unpackage that a little bit. You have domes, mirror cabins, tree tents, and a boat. Did you come across? Of course, domes you order and you set up. But I'm really curious about that boat. How did you come across a boat, and how does that set up as an accommodation?
Yeah, so that was a very unique, interesting idea that we had, because I grew up on in this town where we are with Creekside is a lot of fishermen. I grew up in a coastal town where all my uncles, my grandfather, they were all lobster fishermen. And we wanted to really bring the true culture of our region through an accommodation. And we had seen online that there was one lobster fisherman that was selling his boat and to join another crew. And we were like, well, wouldn't that be cool to somehow transform that into a really nice accommodation? So we ended up purchasing a big lobster fishing boat that was actually used for lobster fishing till the day that we got the boat. But we got the engine. We told the fisherman he could keep the engine and all of the things that, may be more valuable to them. And he could resell that, but we wanted just the shell. So we had to bring that with a huge transport, which was very interesting to even back that up in the woods here on our property, because it weighs a lot. It weighs a ton. So between a transport and the weight of a huge lobster fishing boat, we didn't even think the transport truck would make it out of our forest again. It took everything for him to get back out. So that was kind of an interesting thing, but I'm happy we did it. It's very cool.
Yeah, that's got cool written all over it. What do the tree tents look like? What are those tree tents that you mentioned?
Yeah, so we have a tree tent. We had seen actually that there was a resort of these elevated tents in trees in British Columbia on the west coast of Canada. And we wanted to bring this kind of like experience for the ones that really love the more outdoorsy camping experience like that. So it's a tent that's elevated in the trees. It can hold up to 800 pounds. And you fit at least 3 people. So it's a very cool experience again. And you have to climb up a little ladder inside the tent. But it's like you're sleeping in the sky. Like, you're in between trees. Yeah.
So it's like a tent on a deck that's elevated into a tree.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Is it a bell tent or a yurt, or what kind of tent is it?
Yeah, no, so it's like just like a regular tent, just a very high quality tent, but it's just the structure of it. It's just an elevated tent that hooks up to trees up in the sky that comes down with a little ladder. And wow. We've built a treehouse gazebo beside it that's all solar powered, and it lights up, and they have full power access to charge their their wow. electronics if they want. So it's very cool, for the ones that love camping. They still have a bit of the luxury amenities that we offer at Creekside, and we try to stick to that kind of core of who we are.
Okay. And then you have mirror cabins. So,
yes,
so there's like glass houses, like mirror. So they're like oud homes. What are they like?
Yeah. So this is a whole new concept that we created, and we actually won an award with tourism for our province with this for innovation. And it's a cabin that outside the exterior is all mirrors. So when you're looking at it, but industrial mirrors, you would see big cities like on huge sky-high buildings. But these mirrors, when you go by the cabin, you don't see the cabin. You just see the reflection of nature and the trees. Okay. And we really wanted people to come and just really get that immersive nature experience. So it's a very cool experience that way. And the inside, when you look outside, it's all windows. But when you're outside, you can't see in because it's all the mirrors. Yeah. So it's a very cool experience. But those cabins also have their own private dome for stargazing. So we have like a stargazing dome with a fancy day bed, and people can still go outside and have that stargazing experience as well at those cabins.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that. I hope I come and visit sometime, because we're doing the same thing over here in Monument, Colorado, in a big forest, so ponderosa pines towering, and we have the vision of having this mirror little cubes, and so if they're mirrored, so it's just be like invisible cabins all the way up the hill, and I'm in this forest. So I can't wait to see what mine turns out. I'll be modeling you a little bit.
Yeah, I would love to have you here, Chris. Hopefully you'll get to come over here. And there's actually a lot of places like outside in the Middle East. They're actually building entire cities now out of these mirrors. They're building like mirror walls, and every building is built out of that. Like, it's really cool. It seems like it's kind of a new innovation in the architecture world. Yeah,
that's in the glamping world. the glass houses, the mirror houses are, or cabins, you should call them, I
Mhm.
suppose. They're kind of the cool thing right now. They were all the rage at the glamping show last year, and I'm sure
Oh,
they are going to be back here this year. But yeah, putting mirrors on on the outsides, or having the single view, I suppose you would call it, the
yeah.
window, so that it's mirror on the outside, but you can see from the inside, or tinted from the inside. That's awesome. And then domes. Domes is what you have also. How many domes do you have?
Yeah, we have 5 geodesic domes on the property. And our geodesic dome are 8-meter domes. They're quite big in space. But we didn't want to put it bigger than that just because for here we're dealing with the cold temperatures in the winter, and to keep warm and really be able to give a nice experience and control the condensation. So so that's why we have them that side, but they're very luxury kind of built. So inside you have the full bathroom. It's even bigger than my house, the bathroom in the dome, and you have the big rain shower head in the shower, and we have a full kitchen, full size fridge, coffee tea bar. We have wood pellet stoves in every unit. So in the winter, like being in -40 at some times that we get here, they're able to keep warm with the wood pellet stove. We have a mini split and electric heat, and between that, it keeps it very warm, which is kind of nice because we were a little bit concerned about that initially. But they're very well insulated, and for us, it's really about getting that resort-like experience, but in nature. So you have similar amenities you would have at home, but then you're in nature, experiencing all the beauty that is around outside.
Yeah, and 8 meters that's 26 feet, isn't it? That's one of the biggest ones, isn't it? Do they make bigger ones than that?
So it's a 8 diameter domes. There is a 10 and a 12, which would be a bit bigger, too big for us. But a lot of people get the 4, 5, or 6. And we went 8. The 10 and the 12, you don't see them very often because they're quite big.
Yeah, those are like and so those are huge. Time for a glamping glamercial. Glamping is the sexiest asset class in real estate, blowing traditional real estate out of the water. If you are a landowner or a potential landowner or an investor who wants to get into the world of glamping, I invite you to my 4-video course, Easy Entry to a Glamping Business. I'm Chris Jube, the Glamping Guy. You may have seen my videos online. And I attest that while traditional real estate investing boasts maybe 10 or 20% returns, glamping typically returns 50%. In my 5 years of hosting a modest glamping operation, I have grown 100 times my first year's earnings. I will show you how you can do the same. So go to glampingguy.com/easy and get registered today to learn easy entry to a glamping business. So, okay, yeah. And then you keep booked. Do you say booked out during the winter? I mean, 40 below zero is pretty cold.
Yeah, we're fully booked all winter. And for us, I think being Canadians, you need to get out of your home in the winter. And there's not many activities to do, other than skiing and skating and snowshoeing. But people love it because we have private hot tubs at every unit. And so people love being in a hot tub in the winter, especially when it's -40. So that keeps people like really excited. But we've also built huge snowshoeing trails on site, and we built a huge skating pond too that's all lighted up. So in the winter, it's all lighted up and people can go and skate. So it really brings, we're trying to bring to life more winter fun and winter activities for people to travel. And we do get pretty busy, which is kind of nice,
Yeah, I'm from northern Minnesota, so I get it. I feel almost Canadian actually. But also it's something magical about just sitting in an enclosed container or a tent or a dome. I imagine a dome. I don't have a dome, but that wood burning stove pumps out 50,000 BTU. And it's hot. You could really be in your pajamas, and it could be. I could see the wind howling outside and the snow blowing, and you're nice and cozy with your adult beverage and just looking at the scenery and watching it outside. That's typically what's happening in these winter glamping operations, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I think that's what people love. It's so cozy and you can
Mhm.
enjoy a nice cup of hot chocolate or tea. And then also when it snows, I get a lot of texts sometimes from people and they like, I feel like I'm actually in a snow globe. It's like, like because it's snowing outside, this beautiful little white snow, and you're
Yeah.
inside this tent that it looks like a snow globe. So people are really loving that experience. Yeah.
Snow globe. You're in the snow globe. I gotta ask you your accent. Where's your accent from? Describe your background.
Yeah, so I'm a French Canadian, but I would say French Acadian.
Okay.
From Atlantic Canada. So the Maritime province here is does a lot of Acadian culture. So our French is very
Okay, explain Acadian. That's new to me and probably new to a lot of dumb Americans. So we don't get that. What's Acadian? What do you mean by that?
yeah, so it's almost like the Cajun, from Louisiana. There's a lot of Acadian culture, like we're really connected to the Louisiana, descendants. So it has to do with the deportation in 1755, which is part of the history. And then, there's a lot of us that came here, but it was mixed with English, with England and France, and all of that. So that's why for us, like our language is English French mixed together. So if you go to Louisiana and you speak to someone there in America and they're speaking that Cajun type language, we're very similar in our region. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a foreign language
Yeah.
almost. And well, with is the so you're in Eastern Canada, so French is really the main language there, right? Are you in Quebec?
Yeah, our province is beside Quebec, which Quebec is pretty much solely French. New Brunswick is completely bilingual. It's probably one of the only province in Canada that's fully bilingual, where everybody will speak French and English.
Okay. Okay. Well, interesting. Well, you have a lovely accent actually, but I want to make sure that so that is Canadian.
Yes.
And all right, all right. Um, Now I wanted to ask you because I was looking at some of your pictures and stuff, and I think for our listeners, I might have some I might slip some pictures in here because you have some beautiful pictures, and I noticed you have like privacy tents or privacy fences with hot tubs and picnic areas and like a private space to each venue. I found that interesting. Can you elaborate on what you built into your little forest venues?
Yes, and when we first built, we didn't have those fence
Mhm.
initially, and then we decided to put that because when people come glamping, we call it the Creekside RnR because they want to rest and relax and renew, recharge, and like people were outside. And when you're glamping, you're spending a lot of time outside, and you're like cooking on your barbecue, relaxing in a hammock, maybe reading a book outside. And we really wanted people to feel that they had that complete serene little piece of the forest to themselves and they felt relaxed and they could do that in their own privacy as well. So
Mhm.
when they're cooking outside, there's nobody walking beside us looking, oh, what are you cooking? And when people may want to be relaxing. So that's why we built these little privacy fence. So it's all enclosed. It lights up
Mhm.
at night on its own also. And then it's like they're all in their own little piece of paradise in the forest. And they can, really enjoy that time together as a family or a couple
Mhm.
and relax and spend more time outside and really get their cooking skills up by
Yeah.
barbecuing and making all that good food. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like a little yard that they
Yeah.
had that was just theirs. So, okay, so now how many venues do you have? Five domes, and then the rest.
So
How
we
many
have
total?
about 10, 10 accommodation on site.
Mhm.
We're in the process of building. We're actually building right now, which should be done in a few weeks, a tree house as well, to create another experience. And then, and I think we'll be stopping at that. We want to keep it, we don't want to overflow with too many people. We want to keep the experience very exclusive,
Mhm.
and relax. And then, but we're building on the property as well. At the beginning, we're starting construction as well now for a restaurant and a huge wellness center.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll be bringing like a glamping feel experience restaurant on site with a
Mhm.
microbrewery, and then we're also building a huge wellness center for massage and red light therapy, health juicing bar, like a lot of different things like that. So when people come, they have the full eating experience, wellness, and accommodation, and all of that.
That's a big part of your experiences, isn't it? The wellness, and you have I forget what you like there was some extras that you had all dealing with like rest and relaxation, but also taking care of your body, taking care of your explain those experiences that you've been putting out there.
Yeah, so for us, like we have a Nordic spa on site, and it's pretty busy. Like most people that come want to go there, or even people that don't stay on the property will still come and use the Nordic spa. But it's an experience in nature where we created a main building, and there's like showers, washroom, relaxation area to drink herbal teas and things like that. But outside, we have like hammocks, a cold plunging tub. And we have hot tubs
Nice.
and sauna, fire pits. Really a place where you do the hot and cold therapy. And the cold plunging tub, we also have an ice machine if people really want it cold. Some people come and put buckets of ice because they just really want that cold therapy, and then they go in the sauna. And yeah, so we've created that experience for people.
Now, 90% of the people who are listening right now are thinking, "What are they talking about? This cold plunge?" But I have to attest to it. It is an amazing experience. I'm not really into the wellness world as much as you are, or your guests probably are. But boy, those cold plunges! I did 100 days last winter of a 3-minute cold plunge every single day, and it was. I plan on doing it again this winter. It's because it's don't knock it till you try it. That's what I tell people when they call me crazy for doing it.
No, I'm so glad you're doing that. I think it's like, it really helps with clarity, focus. Also like you just feel so relaxed. When you do that, it's kind of almost acts as a
mental energy to do something crazy, do something that's incredibly uncomfortable, probably more uncomfortable than of anything you'll ever do, and doing it for 3 minutes, sitting in an ice bath. It's that mental clarity that you come out with is euphoric. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And I'm related to the Ice Queen. I don't know if you've seen her on TikTok and on YouTube and stuff like that. Well, look her up. She's my daughter-in-law. And she's got like 1 billion followers and stuff like that. All she does is ice plunges, and she lives on one of our properties, and it's wonderful. So we're big believers in that. But you do have a hot spot too for the rest of the world, right?
Yes, we do. For the ones that prefer the hot tubs and the heat, we definitely have that as well.
Okay, cool. Okay, I do want to talk about your franchising. That's a big deal. This is something I haven't gotten into, but I realize is out there. There's people who are in the glamping industry who are taking that leap into a franchise model. Franchising meaning you're selling your ideas to other people who want to do the same thing, and you're quite excited about that. How relatively new is that? How long have you been franchising?
Yeah, that's quite new actually, and the idea just came to us because we have so many people calling every day. Asking if we could help them build a resort or give them advice or where we purchase our own
tell me
structures.
About it. That's why Glamping Guy exists, honestly.
Yeah, and we were like, like we saw that there was opportunity, but the main thing also that really triggered that is there's so many glamping resorts opening or units opening different places, but the level of experience is not really like kind of structured or balanced. Like, so for example, people can come to a resort and they're like, oh my God, I love this experience and I love how this was and the luxury feel and all that. And then they'll go glamping somewhere else and there's no washroom and it's just a complete different experience. So for us really in the franchising for what we are doing for our brand, it was really about standardizing that experience so people can trust. So when they're booking with us, they know they'll get the quality, the service, the same level of experience they've experienced. So it's almost like, creating the Hilton or the Marriott, when you go there, you know what to expect. We wanted to create the same thing because glamping right now, it's a booming industry, but it's really all over the place. There's nothing that's really been kind of level up as, this is the way or the norm, or maybe what's to trust or not trust. So for us, we really wanted to take that up a notch and franchise that.
Okay. And can people buy into your franchise, or they just like call you up and how many how many franchisees do you have?
Well, right now we have 10 contracts that we are in process with for construction that we're starting. And one of them is actually in Texas. One of them is in Costa Rica. We have Atlanta, Vermont. We have also Maryland. And then we have British Columbia, Nova Scotia, like places here in Canada that we're working on. We've already helped someone open their resort here in the same that we've done in Western Canada. But at the time, we hadn't even thought about franchising. We were just helping them out because, they came and stayed at our resort and we started coaching and helping them. So they've built the same kind of, quality, structure, design. But now they're going to be turning into a franchise because they want to be a part of what we're doing. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're working on currently. But all the locations we're working with, they're beautiful locations, and the ones in Maryland, they own a campground already. It's on the side of water. He came and stayed at my resort, and when he saw the lobster fishing boat, he was like, "Oh my God, I want to take that up to Maryland," because there's a marina not far from where we are. And They have purchased, another 30 acres and doing a glamping phase. So I thought, how cool is that? So you just never know who you'll get to meet. And it's always, for me, it's always about always staying open mind and open to opportunities. And I'm crazy passionate about the glamping industry. And, if we can contribute to that and help, then we want to for sure take advantage of that opportunity.
So explain that avatar, that ideal customer, the ideal landowner, you might say, who would be one of your candidates for a franchisee. Because I bet you there'll be a listener here who will go, I got to get a hold of Angele Miller because it seems like that we could connect. Explain that avatar, that ideal customer, an ideal franchisee to the listeners here.
Yeah, so for me, an ideal franchisee is really like anyone that has land, they want to cash flow their land, either they want to put, the glamping units or create, it doesn't need to be a full-scale resort, but they want to create a resort. They want to put geodesic domes or glamping units, but they don't really know where to start and how to go about doing that. They may not know where to purchase a dome. Why would I purchase here versus there? What's the difference in quality? What are the things I need to think about? There's a lot, as you know, that you've learned, I'm pretty sure along the way, like we did, that can save a lot of time, make it more effective, save money. So for us, it's really about putting all of those things from A to Z together to bring the proper structure, the proper design, the proper layout in the land as well on how you structure and why you structure it that way so that you can, bring a lot of people and profit from it. So for us, that's really the ideal customer is really, anyone that has land, they want to profit, cash flow from that and want to put, some glamping units and build something similar to what we've done here.
Yeah, your family. How many? Your husband? You said you have children. How is this a family? How big is your team, honestly? Because it's got to be more than just your family. But your family. This is a family business, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So me and my husband are fully engaged together in this business. My husband is a electrical contractor, but he's been designing and building things himself for many years. And he's very, has a really good eye to detail. So he's built the resort we have here, designed it. So he's good at that. So together we form, a good team with that. My daughter is like, Annabelle is still very young. She's still just in school, but and she says she doesn't want to work at all at our
Yeah.
resort, but she
You
did
and my kids alike. I mean, it's like, oh, they don't know how good they have it, right?
yeah, yeah. No, she wants nothing to do with that today. My dogs love being on the property, so
Dog
I
dream.
consider them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then so you and your husband pretty much manage your property of 11 units, or soon to be 11 units, and then you're working the franchise on the side and trying to grow other properties. And do you fly out to Maryland or Texas and actually help them start? Is that kind of the deal with the franchisee?
Yeah, we're lining up a team to work with us with that, to support that, kind of operation. We have an office manager here on our property here and a good team there. So I'm not as engaged in the day-to-day activities. But I do have other companies where I have good teams, and I'm using a lot of my team members to help with that development a bit further, because it is, it does take time, to develop these projects, and you need the right people. Also, a lot of the team members, like, the resort that has opened in Western Canada, that manage the resort there, they want to join our team, and they're pretty good. They have a really good understanding because they've built similar resort to what we have here themselves, that we had guided them also. So our hopes is that we keep evolving the team to support everything better, and we will go on site. I've been in Texas many times. I've been a guest speaker at a huge event there every year. There's over 20,000 people that attend that expo. And that's where I get a lot of people to coming to me saying, I want to build what you did there. Can you help me? And they're building the glamping resort, will be about 30 minutes outside of Austin, on acreages is where they're going to be building, the glamping resort there. So
Okay. I would love to go to Costa Rica. Did you go there?
not yet. I haven't gone to see the land there, but
Okay.
it's in Nozara, Costa Rica, and I can't wait to go. Yeah,
Yeah,
me
that's
too.
yeah, that's right. I'd sign
Look
up for
at the
that.
places, right? You're like, I'll take this one and you handle that one, depending on the location.
Yeah. Okay. What are some big projects that you're doing? Like, or maybe you won't want to share them because do you feel like there's a sense of proprietary in the glamping world? Or you seemed very open with your ideas and things like that, very open to helping people and just what's your philosophy of all that in this competitive world?
Yeah, I mean, it is a very competitive world, and I think that we really need to always be attuned to our market and what's happening around and trends. We need to be able to evolve pretty quickly with those trends and adapt and adjust. And that's something we do all the time. I mean, for us, in our province in New Brunswick, when we opened, there was only 2 other resorts in our sector. Now there's over 50 in a period of 3 years.
Oh,
so just to show the saturation. And when you look at it, our province in New Brunswick, we may just be around 1 million in population all around in the entire province. So it just shows like how, competitive the industries become. So it's really always about, and a lot of people, when they find something or they see a resort that's doing something. So no matter how I protect, as long as I protect what we're doing in terms of our name, like a trademark and things like that. But in terms of IDs and integration of what we're doing, it's easy for people to come and say, well, I'm just going to try to do the same thing at my resort or home. And there's not really anything you can do to stop them. You can't really patent a dome. It's kind of a general thing that people are buying, so people will come and replicate exact food offerings, exact packages that we're offering. So we find ourselves constantly excelling at customer service and evolving our innovation. So I think it's something we always have to keep doing to stay on top of competition, and we're
gotta admit, I'm going to copy a couple of things I saw on your website. Just it's like, oh, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that. And that's part of the fun of this kind of the new market. You said you've started this in during COVID, so it's
yeah,
only
we
been
have.
How many? What year is this right now? Is this year 5 or what?
Yeah, year 4 for us, but we started in 2019, but just in 2019, it was just the development of the road and the zoning and all that kind of process. In 2020, in March, right when COVID was announced, the same week, the transport arrived with my geodesic domes in a transport truck. So
Good timing,
yeah.
Angel. That's really good timing because everyone wanted to get out at that time, and so
Oh
that was kind
yeah.
of a boom for us. But yeah, good timing to get into it. Very similar to my timeline, honestly.
Yeah.
2019 is when I started, just by putting a tent up in my backyard and renting it out, and then COVID, and then it just grew through the COVID lockdowns.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It was really good timing. It ended up being a blessing at the end. It didn't seem like it in the beginning, because for us, like you were not allowed to travel. The whole travel tourism industry was coming to a stop. And here we were starting a resort,
Mhm.
but we decided to, keep pushing, and it was a real blessing. It would have not been a better perfect timing for us to open what we did at that time.
And you said you got some permits in line in 2020, or did you get any trouble? Did you find out that you had more to do with the government than you really thought you did? I mean, that's my story. I'm just asking you if that's what ended up with you.
No, we really lucked out with that. I know the rules got stricter like a few years ago than when it was my time. But for us, like we just got a multi-purpose zoning permit, and that was fine. We're in a rural community, and it was, a pretty simple step. They were pretty excited to see something like that come into our region. But when it comes to getting like a structural engineer to approve your designs, from your manufacturer. At the time, we didn't need that. Now you do. So it has evolved, like the industry as the glamping industry evolved and it became an industry. I think the rules and everything are getting more and more strict and more put in place. But at my time, I kind of lucked out that way in my municipality.
And your husband was into contracting, so he was a builder already. So a lot of his skills were just second nature to him, and he just built them. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah, he loves designing and building, and especially unique things.
Mm-hmm.
And unique projects. So this kind of really fit into his passion for sure.
Yeah, I found that's kind of the ideal candidate for glamping is someone who has a contracting experience to them or building experience, and they just know how to build stuff. There's a lot of sweat equity that can cut corners and actually make it happen. So, and that's a lot of my audience right now. They have no excuse to build something and actually start renting it out.
Yeah, and you know what I found also, Chris, is like a lot of people would call us, like, other resort owners or people wanting to get in the glamping industry, and they would have purchased the domes and everything, but they had no idea how to put them together and like kind of to build them. And they would call contractors, but contractors had never built glamping units like geodesic domes or put them together, and the quotes they were getting was pretty astronomical. They were sharing some numbers with us of like, oh, this builder said they could try, but this is like what they would charge. And it's not like they would bring huge experience in building this type of structure. I mean, for us, like being that, my husband was used to building unique structures, but we still had a 3D video that came with it that showed us how that was going to be put together. It's not like anybody had all the answers, or it was something that contractors were doing at the time out here.
Yeah. And yeah. You made it work. I mean, those are neat little venues that you have there. And the the dome is just a dome. You got the deck, you got the hot tub, you got the fencing, you got the positioning, where it's going to be in the property. So there's all sorts of stuff that's involved, and plumbing too. Do you have bathrooms and kitchens and
yes,
and so it goes into a septic tank and all that jazz? Wow.
Yeah.
Did you have to upgrade any of that when you were in development?
Yeah, so we had to build do the underground and do the septic tanks positioning, and we have, I think it's 2 septic tanks right now here, and we had to put water wells as well here.
Yeah, you have 26 acres, so that's a big acreage.
Yeah.
26. So you have 2 septic tanks, and you have plenty of water, so you have wells.
Yeah.
Did you say you had 2 wells or 1 well?
Yeah, we have our own 1 water well that we have here on site. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's cool. Wow. I think we covered everything. This was the fastest podcast. You really know your stuff, and just we're really going. I'm trying to think of any other stone to unturn here, because you definitely are a leader in the glamping industry. And you're not coming to the glamping show, are you, next week?
No, I wish I could go. I can't wait. Like, it looks like so much fun.
It is fun.
An incredible show. Yeah, next year for sure.
Okay.
I've just been traveling too
Hold
much.
you to it. Next year.
Yeah,
Next year.
yeah, next year I'll be there. You are going, right, Chris? Are you?
Yeah, I'm only an hour from it. So if I don't go, that's really stupid of me. So I can understand if I'm traveling and things like that, for someone like you. But yeah, I'll be going every year. It's a wonderful show. So
I want to check out your resort as well. Like, where do I go for online? I'll have to go check out what you're doing too.
MonumentGlamping.com. That's my glamping operation. And it's also a family run operation. I mean, I really hope my ideal listener is that family, they got some they're not afraid to swing a hammer and build a deck or something like that. And they have property. They're landowners who want to build safe, legal, and profitable glamping operations on their private property. I love that. That's my avatar. That's my audience. It sounds like that's your avatar too.
Yes.
Guys, that someone could get a hold of you and say, I wouldn't mind doing something like that. And here's my property. Let's talk. So, so that's what glamping is. That's why this podcast is so perfect for you and me.
Yeah, and it just made me think too. I should mention, like, one of the things that was really cool that we discovered that we had no idea is on our land where we built the resort. We have close to about 50 apple trees on the property, and it smells so good right now, by the way, because the apples are in season now. It's apple season, so it smells so good. But when we first started, when we bought the land, we had no idea. Initially, we thought they were wild apples. But we took different apples from different tree and took it to like apple farms to see like what are these kind of apples, because some are really big. And we were told that those are not wild apple, they're farm apple because they're too big to be wild apple. Wild apples are smaller in size. So we've come to discover that the land where we built, that's now a forest, one day was probably an apple orchard farm at some point. So it's pretty cool, so we're discovering, and that's why we have such a big deer population as well on the property.
Yeah, deer love apples. Yeah.
We have apples everywhere.
The Johnny Appleseed farm you got there years ago. That's
right. Yeah.
You make we used to make apple juice out of buckets. So we'd have 5-gallon buckets, and we would just core and cube the apples, fill the apples about a third full, and then some hot water over that, and then we'd take a plate with some rocks on it, so it'd be kind of a weight, and put a plate perfectly in the bucket and let it settle for a few days, and the juice would just come up. It was the best apple juice I've ever had in my life. And we did that a lot when we were in Minnesota, because we had a lot of people had apple trees, and they would just like, come and pick my apples. There's apples everywhere. We're going crazy. Do you do something like that? Do you create some homemade stuff from the apples for your guests?
Yes, I haven't for the guests, but that's a good idea, actually, like to do something like that. I have to try what you said about that way of doing apple juice. I've never done anything like that. But for us, I just, we cultivate apple. I make applesauce. We juice it just like with the juicing machine more. And then we sell actually a lot of apple jelly and apple cider, but made from our local apple orchard that's near us, just a few minutes. I personally love making apple crisp. That's one of my favorites. So yeah.
That might be an amenity for you, and especially if you get the apple trees right there and people see them and know. And then I visited it wasn't a glamping operation, but it was a farm that in southern Minnesota. And they had salsa for sale, and they're selling for $5 a jar. I would have paid $20 a jar. I would have bought all of them too, because it was just something about homemade stuff from where you're staying is just is just magical. So
Mhm.
that's awesome. Yeah, I hope you do some Apple
Yeah.
domestic apple production going on there. Resurrect Johnny Appleseed's apple farm there at New Brunswick. That's great. That's great. Well, I think that's it. Okay, to conclude this, how can people find you? Give me a list of websites and stuff like that, and how to find you, Angel.
Yeah, so people can find us right on our website, which is www.creeksidernr.com. They can also email us at info@creeksidernr.com, or just look us up also on Facebook or Instagram, and then they can message us directly right there as well.
Awesome, awesome, and I'll have all those links in the show notes on Spotify or iTunes or YouTube is where I post it. Angela, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing this with the Glamping Guy podcast, our guests. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you so much as well, and thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
What an incredible conversation. We've heard firsthand from Angele Miller, the creator of Creekside RnR, about her journey from the coastal town of New Brunswick to building a world-class glamping resort with unique, unforgettable stays like mirror cabins, a lobster boat, for crying out loud. That is so cool. I think we can all take a little bit of inspiration from Angele and get on with our own creative vision of creativity for our own glamping operations. I very much appreciate her vision for franchising. I think we'll see more of that in the glamping world from all sorts of people who are doing glamping. This is an episode filled with ideas and innovation for anyone looking to level up their glamping experience and their glamping game, really, and dream about their next great adventure. So I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I have. Don't forget to check out Angele's work at Creekside RnR. And if you're looking for glamping inspiration, stay tuned for more of the Glamping Guy podcast. Until next time, I'm Chris Jube. You take care.